Over the weekend, Iran mourned its dead in the recent conflict with Israel and the U.S. Officially, there were tributes to 10 senior military commanders and 16 scientists killed. But Israeli intelligence reports estimate the toll on the leaders of Iran's nuclear program was much higher.
Of course, the Israeli attacks killing very high-ranking officers, military officers, and also Iranian nuclear scientists has been a big blow or defeat for Iran in terms of security.
U.S. President Donald Trump continues to say that blow virtually wiped out Iran's nuclear program.
As you know, their sites were obliterated. They're very evil nuclear sites. They were, now has been proven. We had some fake news for a little while.
But Joyce Karam from Middle East website Al Monitor says it's still too early to know how badly Iran's nuclear program was damaged.
We have conflicting reports, conflicting language from President Trump himself, who used the word obliterated several times. But when you look at the report that came from the Pentagon, the Defense Intelligence Agency, it says something entirely different. They're not sure of the extent of the damage at this point.
The Director General of the UN's Atomic Energy Agency, Rafael Grossi, declined to give a definitive assessment.
Now, the characterization of the damage, I think we can, speculate. We'll have to go there and sift through the, rubble and look at what is the exact degree of the damage.
President Trump's defense secretary has been leading the counterattack against leaks to the media, questioning the toll on Iran's nuclear program.
Because you cheer against Trump so hard, you have to cheer against the efficacy of these strikes.
They don't want to be heavily questioned over this. They feel very much the narrative is on their side, that they did a successful strike, and they want to give credit to the president who came into office saying, I'm not going to go into wars in the Middle East and all of that, but now is changing the script a little bit.
In Tehran, Dr. Alam Saleh from the Australian National University says Iran is reluctant to reveal how much of their nuclear sites remain. But the country's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, has declared victory over the U.S. in a social media post.
What they think is that not being defeated themselves is the victory. They believe that the United States and Israel aimed at destroying Iran's nuclear facilities and infrastructure. They believe that they were not successful in doing so.
The Iranian regime has conceded extensive damage from U.S. and Israeli strikes, but Dr. Saleh says the regime believes the core of its nuclear program is intact.
Iran's nuclear technology and activities is not only about Fordo and Natanz nuclear sites. It's a widespread, it's everywhere, the knowledge is there, and it cannot be bombed, it cannot be destroyed.
Donald Trump says if signs point to Iran resuming work on a nuclear weapon, the U.S. won't hesitate to strike again.
If the intelligence reports conclude that Iran can enrich uranium to a level that concerns you, would you consider bombing the country again?
Without question, absolutely.
The U.S. president says he still believes a nuclear deal with Iran is possible. It could happen, Joyce Karam says, but it will take a shift from Tehran, especially when it comes to inspections by the International Atomic Energy Agency.
They don't seem to have changed their position a lot. They're still insisting on enriching uranium inside Iran. They still want a high payback on lifting sanctions. And they're in a very hostile place when it comes to IAEA access.
Dr. Alam Saleh believes there's a chance Iran could go the other way, away from negotiations and towards attaining nuclear weapons as the only deterrent to attack.
Tehran is very quiet about what's going on. This is very dangerous. I believe that they will think seriously about a path towards the bomb.
For now, Dr. Saleh says, Despite the blows from Israel and the U.S., Iran's regime appears to be stable.
At the moment, we don't see any sign of internal domestic uprising or any sign that people may come out and to object the regime's policy.
What we're seeing coming from inside Iran is actually the playbook of Khamenei, the playbook of this regime is an internal crackdown. They've been arresting, I think it's now the number is almost 1,000 people, execution, doing what they do best is oppressing their people.
She believes Donald Trump has set his sights only on Iran's nuclear ambitions.
This is not a regime change, war type, let's bring democracy into the Middle East presidency that we're seeing, in the second term of Donald Trump. He has his MAGA base that's still pretty upset over what happened. I don't see this administration going into a regime change operation or even Israel convincing it to do so.
Ehud Olmert served as the Prime Minister of Israel from 2006 to 2009. He joined me earlier. Ehud Olmert, welcome to the program. You have been a fierce critic of the ongoing war in Gaza, and we will come to that. But when it comes to Iran, you've praised the Israeli and American strikes. Why?
Obvious reasons, because Iran was the main enemy. Iran started a ballistic missile attack against the state of Israel already in April 24, and then again in October 24, launching more than 300 ballistic missiles with warheads weight of more than 400 kilos. There has never been any such attack in modern history over one country as the Iranians did to Israel. Thank God we had the technological superiority to intercept most of the missiles, and also America and Great Britain and France cooperated with us in order to stop it. And then, of course, Iran also financed the Hezbollah and equipped Hezbollah with thousands of ballistic missiles, which were launched against Israel, and so were the militias in Syria and the Houthis in Yemen and Hamas. So, and on top of everything, Iran was involved in building nuclear capacity, and Iran said that there is only one top priority for this country, which is to destroy the Zionist entity, the State of Israel. Under these circumstances, it was inevitable.
And while we don't yet know the full extent of damage to that nuclear program in Iran, can you give us a sense of how you think this strike on Iran has changed the balance of power across the region now?
Well, number one, it's true that we don't know the bottom line of the American, particularly American attack on the nuclear sites in Fordow, in Natanz, and in Isfahan. This was the American operation. The fact that America decided to take part in this is also a testament to the degree of danger that Iran posed to the entire stability in the Middle East. And I think that this is also what appears to be the immediate outcome is that the weakening of Iran, dramatically, the weakening of Iran, and I think that the end of the role that Iran could play and did play in destabilizing the Middle East over the last few years, in providing the military assistance to the Hamas, to the Hezbollah, to the Houthis, and to all the others that were destined for one thing, which is to try and weaken the state of Israel towards the ultimate Iranian attack. I think that they have lost it for the time being, and it may influence the present leadership of Iran to consider a possible change of direction. I hope so.
Well, what does it mean then for Gaza? Benjamin Netanyahu has said that many opportunities have now opened up. Is the Prime Minister, in your view, in a stronger position now to end the war in Gaza? And do you believe he will?
Well, I wish I could tell you what the Prime Minister wants. I'm not certain that I'm in that position. Prime Minister has been for a long time completely reluctant to end the war in Gaza and to release the hostages, which is the inevitable responsibility of this government.
But is he in a stronger position now to do that?
So I don't know. I have to be very honest. I don't know whether he wants to do it now. I definitely know that he didn't want to do it up until now. And the expansion of the war in Gaza is intolerable. There is nothing in a military operation that can be achieved that we didn't achieve already. We are talking about more than 20 months fighting in Gaza. What is the exact statistics of the number of victims in Gaza? I don't know whether there are 60,000 or 55 or 65,000. Definitely there are many Hamas fighters amongst them. But there are many thousands of children, many thousands of their parents that were not involved in terror, which were the victim of this war. Enough is enough. We have reached a point where there is no need to continue, and there is no other way to release the hostages that we so much care for, but to end the war now. So that's what we have to do.
I mean, you initially supported Israel's response to the Hamas October 7 attack.
Who didn't, by the way?
But you know, as those killings continue, you referenced the death toll there. You have been calling it now an indiscriminate, limitless, cruel and criminal killings that are going on. What do you think the Netanyahu government is now trying to achieve in Gaza?
What I said about the war has to be just emphasized and put in the right context, is true after 20 months of fighting. And as long as we are fighting within a certain degree of international consensus, which existed, we were supported by the President of the United States, Joe Biden, by the Prime Minister of Great Britain, by the Chancellor of Germany, by the President of France. All the international community said, you have a right to reach out for the killers and kill them. And everyone knew that there will be a collateral damage. Unfortunately, regrettably, too many. But it was inevitable as a follow-up to the very basic right of Israel to counter-offensive the terrible massacre which was committed against us. However, as I said, that was true until the 18th of March this year, because since then, there is no need, and no one in Israel, or at least a majority of the Israelis, do not believe that there is anything, any goal that was the cost of losing Israeli soldiers. Just during the month of June, we lost 20 soldiers, in which is terrible for us. We risked the lives of the hostages, and many innocent Palestinians, non-involved Palestinians, were killed. All this without any sight of something which is worth the cost. So this has to stop. Now, whether Netanyahu will be able to do it, he want to do it, I wish again, as I said before, I wish I could tell you, but I don't know.
You have long called for a two-state solution, but support within Israel does appear to have fallen to an all-time low when it comes to a two-state solution. There was a recent poll that had only 21% of Israelis saying that they thought a peaceful coexistence between two states was possible. Is this the political reality as you see it in Israel, and how then can that be overcome, turned around?
There is no alternative political solution but a two-state. Now, it's true, of course, as a result of the impact of the massacre of the 7th of October, certainly had a certain toll on the number of Israelis that were prepared to consider a two-state solution. But as we are distancing ourselves from the immediate events of the 7th of October, on the one hand, and on the other hand, there is a growing perception of the strengths, the military power of the state of Israel, considering the enormous achievement in defeating the Iran and taking control of the skies of Iran from one border to the other, and destroying the sites of their ballistic missiles, the launchers, eliminating so many of the military commanders. All of this I think, is changing the self-confidence of the Israelis to be able to cope with the possible political ramifications, the security ramifications of political solutions. So if you will ask me today, how many of the Israelis will support a two-state? Not too many. Will it change? I'm certain that it will change because there is no alternative. At the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves, what do we want? What do we want? To remain forever occupiers of the territories with 3 million Palestinians in Gaza, in the West Bank, 2.5 million Palestinians in Gaza. How long? What for? What will be the end? What will be the political horizon for these millions of people?
Ehud Olmert, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.